And that's going to be recording our audio, so it will be streamed to the podcast as well as 102.9 BNN station.
Okay.
And this right here is actually live for all the YouTube viewers. And for those, go ahead.
You know, we want to do a weekly show on using BNN down there. So because we have over 2 million members, and so we want to do a weekly show. So that would be exciting.
I think I would love to be a part of that. Okay, so for those who don't know, I am currently with Bruce Marks of NACA. He is the founder and president, CEO, CEO.
Founder and CEO of 32 years.
That's a long, so this has been your job for 32 years.
I have the best job in America. I have the best job. I mean, you tell me where you can have a job where you can make such a big difference. I mean, when you have people with an unaffordable mortgage and you can make that mortgage affordable. I mean, people say to us and say to me, you know, not only did you save my house, but you saved my life.
Mm. And
then you could put people into homes, home buyers, on the best mortgage in America. I mean, when you say to somebody, just look at the thousands of testimonies, no down payment, no closing costs, bank eats all the closing costs, no fees, bank eats all the fees, always have below market interest rate. We don't look at someone's credit score, and we can get people on the best terms in America at a below market interest rate. Some people are getting interest rate of less than 1% because they buy down the rate. Mm-hmm. So, you know, you're changing lives there. And then you have an organization of over 2 million members, of which people participate. Just like with Habitat for Humanity, Jimmy Carter's group, people have to participate in whatever way that they feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. But it can be doing at a workshop, it can be in the office, or it can be part of the demonstrations and actions that we do, taking on the predators out there. Mm-hmm. And then we've got the financial resources, not unlimited, but significant, to take on the fight that no one can put the arm on us. Now, you tell me, that's the best job in America.
You guys are like the AARP for homeowners.
We used to be like what they used to be.
Yes.
I'd say that they do good work, but they're not the activist organization that they used to be. So, you know, we have to always be clear that we always have to be on the cutting edge. We always have to be the aggressive advocacy. And that's the key piece, because you have to do two things. And I think we do two things as well, if not better than anybody else. Mm-hmm. One, we do the aggressive advocacy where we go after people personally. Because it's not the CEO, it's not Tim Sloan, it's not Wells Fargo, it's Tim Sloan who's the CEO of Wells Fargo. He has to be held accountable. It's not the board of directors, it's each individual board of directors of Wells Fargo who has to be held accountable. So I think what people sometimes get a little crazy about with us, they might not like, is because we go after people personally. Mm-hmm. Because in America, we used to have this standard called personal responsibility. Mm-hmm. Well, they like to say working people have to have personal responsibility. But somehow we forget that when it becomes the CEOs or the decision makers. So that's why we go into their communities to hold them personally responsible for their actions. And there's nothing like bringing 300 to 400 homeowners to the front door of the CEO, like we've done a number of times, and saying, we want you to meet face to face with the people that you're foreclosing on. Mm-hmm. And you know, that has an impact, mm-hmm. a big impact. And then the other part is we do the operations better than anybody else does. So we don't trust the institutions. We don't trust the lenders. We say, look, we're going to do it better than you do. And we do.
What is NACA? Where did NACA come from? And NACA, what is that?
It is the Neighborhood Assistance Corporation of America, NACA. And it came from, I mean, I'm the product of the 70s, you know, economic justice, civil rights. And so we're really standing on the shoulders of the civil rights movement. And so we're taking that and we're expanding that to economic justice issues, which is what the civil rights movement stood for, mm-hmm. and stands for. And to do that and taking on financial exploitation across the board. So I started it 32 years ago. You know, I was with the Hotel Workers Local 26 in Boston. Mm-hmm. We were the first union ever to win a housing trust fund when, you know, hotel employees are able to get payment and closing cost assistance paid by the hotel owners to purchase homes. And so we did that, and we went against the AFL-CIO. Lane Kirkland was in charge. We beat him, and we changed the federal labor law. No local union had ever changed the Taft-Hartley Act. We did, but it didn't work, because even though we had this down payment and closing cost assistance, and just as it was illegal. It was illegal to change the law, because you're not allowed to actually negotiate on housing or things that are not a permissive subject of bargaining. It's illegal to do that. Mm-hmm. So we did something that was illegal. We actually negotiated it. We actually got the employers, hotel owners, to agree to it, and then we went out and changed the law. So, in this country, sometimes it's important to do things that are illegal for social justice and economic justice.
I just want to reiterate that Bruce Marks just confirmed that sometimes you have to do illegal things in order for things to get done.
Oh, not just I think it is a requirement to do that. If you're going to be a social activist, and if you are going to take on the fight for economic justice, it's imperative that you look at the bigger picture, and that where it requires breaking the law, nonviolent, but where it requires breaking the law, you do that. Mm-hmm. And then, you deal with that. But when you have 2 million members, you have the resources to take on the fight. We haven't lost a war yet. Mm. But what we can guarantee is whenever we get into a fight, it's going to be a tough fight, because we go after people personally, and we are relentless. It's a junkyard dog. We are the junkyard dogs. Once we grab on, we never let go, and we will do whatever it takes in a nonviolent way to win those battles. Mm. Sometimes they take 3 or 4 or 5 years, but we are relentless. We go to where they socialize, we go to where they work, we educate their kids on how evil their parents are, because there's nothing like having dinner where your kids are saying, hey mom, hey dad, is it true that you're foreclosing on these people illegally? Is it true that you're, throwing these families out on the street? Is it true that, that you engage in predatory lending practices? Is that why I'm able to live in this mansion? And that's why I'm able to go skiing in Beaver Creek? Is that this money that I'm living on? That's a good family conversation, I believe.
And are you aware that those conversations have happened in the past with kids and their parents?
Oh yeah, because we give the material out to their kids. I mean, it's called education. It's called informing them of what their parents are doing. I mean, some people can say it sounds really over the edge. But deal with the people who are dealing with the consequences of these CEOs' actions, of the decision makers' actions. I mean, these are, people come up to me, and we've done these massive Save the Dream events. I mean, 40, 50,000 people over 5 days come. And people come to me and say, I haven't been able to sleep. I have thought about committing suicide. I can't look my children in the eyes. And then we're able to save their homes, and they say, now I can live again. Mm-hmm. So when you think about the consequences of their actions, why is it over the edge when their families have to deal with the same impact of the consequences of their actions? Worse. They have to deal with worse. So having a conversation and educating them to what their family's doing and what their parents are doing, that seems pretty straightforward, what we should be doing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, I'm interested in some of your adventures. Can you tell me about, over the years, maybe the first one, like the first time you went to somebody's house, or the first time you went to a golf course, or the first time that you really put yourself in a position to, I'm going to embarrass you, but at the same time, I may be a little embarrassed myself. Did that ever happen?
Well, there's a lot. There are many stories in every campaign. So let me see. We took on Charles Smith. He was a landlord in Boston. He was a slum landlord just right down the road in Dorchester, Mattapan. Mm-hmm. So we, he would go to the tenants with a gun, and he would, to get rents, just actually go there.
Was he in the mafia? What?
He was a slum landlord. So we, you know, went there and, you know, so we organized the tenants, got him into housing court, and judge there, head of the housing court, you know, we, you know, took him on. He put him under house arrest in his own apartment. And then we got $1 million from Bay Banks to actually do the renovation of the properties, and now you see these nice houses on Hiawatha Street to do that, and as a result of the advocacy that we did on bigger stuff. Chase, let's talk about Chase. Chase, Jamie Dimon, head of Chase, still head of Chase. Well, we do these predator tours, and so what we did is that we did a predators tour, and we had a big event in Stanford. So we had 5,000–6,000 people there, and you know some of the people there, we did a predators tour, and we were getting ready to go after Jamie Dimon. Well, Jamie Dimon lives outside of Stanford, still does, and he has a complex of mansions on a hill. He's got a 12-foot high fence around around all of his property, but he lives on a lake. So what happens is that, you know, so we were gonna, you know, take on Jamie Dimon. You know, he was not doing the right thing for homeowners who had a Chase mortgage and, you know, Washington Mutual mortgage, which he, you know, owns. So 2 days before the action, where we're gonna have thousands of people surround him, and then we're gonna do an amphibious assault onto his property. So if you're going to do the amphibious assault, you have to, you know, be prepared. We always do our homework. So 2 days before, we're burying the rafts on the side of the lake. And there's a number of us, and a lot of the members of NACA are big guys. And so we're burying the rafts, and his security people come over the hill, and they see us. And our guys just chase them down and scare them off. And the next day they settled. So
hold on. Hold on, what? So you guys didn't even have to go through?
No, we were all ready because, you know, we had this set up where we're having thousands of people surround him, you know, his house with, you know, a 12-foot high fence, and we're doing the amphibious assault.
Yeah.
So we're getting prepared, you know. So we're burying the rafts. So, you know, if you ever need some rafts, you know, out there.
I can't even, I want to see that. I want to see the visual. I wish somebody had pictures of that.
I think we do. The one, I mean, during, you know, we also went after John Mack. He's the CEO of Morgan Stanley. So we go there to his house. In his house, big house, his house is in, it's in this big area. There's a huge golf course. It's a country club. So we go there. We got, you know, 600 or 700 people. It's a Sunday morning, going to his house, but we go to the wrong house. We go down the road. So his neighbor, we have this on tape, taps me on the shoulder and says, "No, that's where the servants live. His house is the one on the hill with the tennis court and the swimming pool and all that." So his neighbor outs him. So, you know, in the neighborhood, you know, they don't always like each other. So then we have the 500–600 people go to the front door of his house, and he has security people, but we just go right by them because they're not going to mess with us. And so, you know, and then he drives away, and, you know, very fancy Ferrari and all that, you know, and we win that campaign. We go after Bear Stearns in New York City. You know, they're one of the big predators out there. So in New York City, you have to get a permit for even noise. You have to get a noise permit. You have to get a protest. You know, if you're going to do a demonstration permit. Well, we never get permits. We don't believe in getting permits. So we go there, and, you know, to get into Bear Stearns, you know, we figured out you can go in through the subway system because they have a direct entrance from the subway system straight into the lobby of Bear Stearns. So we come in from the different directions. So we come in from, you know, one end, we come in from the other end, and we come in from underneath to do that. And so we're in there, and, you know, you know, we're in there, and the police, they're our friends. And remember, a lot of the police we've helped. You know, we've helped save their homes. We have helped them actually purchase the homes. So we, so we're in there for like an hour and a half. So in essence, we're holding the Bear Stearns executives hostage in their own building because they can't get out to do that. Down here, when we, right down the street here in JP, when we were the first organization to take on Countrywide.
Mm-hmm.
So we, put out the word, and we said, if you have a Countrywide mortgage, and all that, come to the event. So, I've been doing organizing for a long time, and, you can put it out, you think, oh, maybe I'll get 50, maybe I'll get 100. Well, we got 300 people in one time. So we go to the offices, the Countrywide offices. There was one right on Center Street. And and people are angry. I've never seen it like this before. This is the beginning of the mortgage crisis. So people just go in and we take over the Countrywide offices. Mm-hmm. And they call the cops. Well, the police officer is a NACA homeowner. So, they keep telling him, oh, you have to get these demonstrations out, these demonstrators out. He said, hey, they're fine with me. He kept the door open, and he said, just don't hurt anybody and you're good. So we took over the Countrywide offices because, he's a NACA homeowner, and because he has committed to participate in 5 actions or activities a year in support of being a NACA member.
Is that it? Just 5 hours?
Well,
5 activities?
Yes, 5 activities.
That's nothing.
Oh, our problem is people want to do more. So we have this huge membership, so we've got to think of more things for people to do, because people want to give back. People are good. People want to, give back. I mean, we did, you want me to go on? I mean,
no,
against Fleet.
We have like 10,000 stories I can imagine. So I do know that there's a lot going on in the city right now, and there's an organization, I believe it's VIDA, V-I-D-A, which they go out and protest against people being wrongfully evicted.
Right.
And with gentrification happening throughout the city and across the country, how is NACA involved to help those that are being gentrified?
Well, we, with what City Life does and others, I mean, I think it's really good work, and I think all of those types of activities are really important. So we, when someone asks us, or when we do the activities, we want to be as supportive as possible to do that, because one thing. I mean, we can do it in a variety of ways. I mean, I think the protests are really important. I think, putting people into homes now is really important before they, people from the outside, higher income people, take over the neighborhoods. I mean, we used to have probably 150 to 200 families just in Jamaica Plain. And now most of them have sold out. I mean, and you look at all the yuppies coming in and the higher incomes. I mean, they're the most miserable people. The sense of entitlement is just beyond the pale. JP is not what it used to be. And thank goodness we're here when there's more public housing. Bromley Heath and Orchard Park and right here. So at least it can keep us sane. There's some sanity, so we don't get those entitled yuppies coming in just to thinking that they're God's gift. Yeah. So we want to make sure that that Roxbury and Dorchester does not become like Jamaica Plain is becoming.
And slowly but surely, it feels like that's the way that it's leaning towards, and even Mattapan. Because if you look at the transit itself, they're like, oh, let's put a commuter rail stop in Mattapan, and we see what's happening with the commuter rail stop in Four Corners and how Four Corners is transforming. There's a lot going on, and there's a lot of uncertainty for people that have lived in this city for their entire life, now feeling as if I can't afford it here anymore.
And why they think about putting that now, when they refused to do that 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago?
We know why.
We know why.
So one of the questions that I've received since one of our last interviews is, why does the city keep telling me that I can't use my Section 8 to purchase a home? That has been they've called 311, they've called the city, they've called the mayor, and they said that this is not something they are on board with. But this was a conversation that we had a couple months back.
Yes. So you can do that if you have a Section 8 in Rochester. You can do that if you have a Section 8 in Worcester. You can do that if you have a Section 8 in Atlanta. You can do that if you have a Section 8 in other places around the country. So the fact of the matter is, in Section 8 are not, it's really governed by the feds.
Mm-hmm.
Feds have no problem, because as we talked about, it's NACA's hot PHA. So it might sound a little corny, but you know, I created the name. This is one thing I'm going to hold on to. So it's home ownership through public housing assistance, hot PHA. And so the hot PHA says that you can take the payment that you would make to the landlord, take that same payment and use that payment to pay, use 70% of it to pay your mortgage payment, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Use 30% of it to pay the principal off faster. So that means that on a 30-year mortgage, in 14 years, in 10 months, you own that house outright. And it gives you enough money, because that payment to the landlord is pretty significant. That gives you enough money where you could be able to afford to buy a house in Boston.
Okay, you have to walk me through this, Bruce.
Okay,
Let's
yes.
say, for instance, 3-bedroom Section 8 voucher, I pay out of that $1,300, and Section 8 covers the other $400.
So let's take
Or whatever number
actually, if
you
you
want
want,
to use.
I can actually get you the numbers. So let me do it.
Yes,
Hold on,
yes.
on
Yeah,
this.
we can definitely do that. We can definitely pause, because because I can always edit this to have
Okay.
a real life scenario.
Okay. So let me get you the.
If you got, just give us a second.
Oh, there's
No,
someone
that's
on
fine.
the other end.
They are perfectly fine, right? You guys all right? I wanted to check on you anyways. Hey, love. Feeling, how you doing? YouTube.
So you can pause that. Is that okay, or is that still going?
Nope. You guys are going to wait a second, because I have faith in you. There we go. Hey, lovelies. So, Bruce Marks is absolutely amazing. He's going to pull up a real life example to how you, me, we can use Section 8 to purchase a home. And when he said Atlanta, I felt, because I know so many of you are willing to leave Boston and move to Atlanta. So, and my mom's a real estate agent in Atlanta, so we can always discuss this and talk about it. While we are waiting, one of the things I wanted to talk about,
And I can give it to you.
okay, is that as far as housing is concerned,
Yeah.
NACA has an amazing program where it's no down payment. They're not looking for checking your credit, and you can buy down the interest points so that it lowers your monthly payment. And I think we're ready to start again.
Yeah. There we go.
So, if you look at Boston, so let's take Boston as an example. Okay. So let's say that you are going to get, and these payments have gone up. Okay, so they've gone up about 10% more. So it's around $3,000 now.
For a 4-bedroom?
For a 4-bedroom.
Okay.
But let's take what they were before they were recently increased. Okay, so for a 4-bedroom, the standard payment that the government pays to the landlord is $2,564.
Is that including utilities?
It's some portion of it.
Okay.
But on that, because out of that payment, the Section 8 recipient is going to make part of that. So they'll take 30% of the income. But someone who is getting the Section 8, because most Section 8 people are working.
Absolutely.
So, so the fact of the matter is we have to respect all work in this country. So whether someone's getting a job at the minimum wage or they're making $100,000, both jobs are really important, and both jobs need to be respected, not one more than the other. So the fact of the matter is the Section 8 recipients are working. So of that $2,564, they're going to pay a portion of it, but what they can afford, 30% less the utilities and less the expenses. So this key number, this is what gets paid to the landlord. Now we're going to take that $2,564 and we're going to pay it to the bank.
Okay.
Right? So all you're doing is you're going from the landlord to the bank, right? Now what is that going to buy me? Now this is a 30-year mortgage. So of that 30-year mortgage, we have to make it less than 15 years, because the government will only pay the Section 8 for 15 years. And at the end of the 15 years, they don't have a Section 8 anymore. They're done. So that's good for Section 8 because it makes it available for other people, and it puts someone into a home, and that homeowner now will own that house straight out. Because the reason why it hasn't worked in the past was because at the end of 15 years, if you had a 30-year mortgage, you'd be on the hook for the next 15 years that you couldn't afford. So we said, well, how do we make this 30-year mortgage into a 15-year mortgage? Because, again, that's when the government assistance ends. So what we do is we take 70% of the $2,564.
Okay.
And that 70% is $1,744.
Okay.
That pays the mortgage payment. The rest of it pays the principal faster.
Okay.
So the $820 pays the principal faster.
I got you.
And that means that for a 4-bedroom, they could afford over $300,000 to purchase a house.
Wow.
So at the end of 15 years, that Section 8 person not only owns that house, but they have built-in savings in that house of over $300,000 without any appreciation of value. So it does, now obviously it goes up in value, then they have that much more.
Yeah.
But even if it doesn't go up in value at all, over $300,000, you're going from a Section 8 where you have virtually no assets to having over $300,000 in assets.
Oh my, okay, let's say, for instance, I just walked into NACA.
Yes.
I did not have an appointment today, I just walked in.
Yeah.
And I have a 4-bedroom voucher.
Yeah.
What do I do?
Well, the first step is you would go to a home buyer workshop. You go into our website, you go to a workshop, and then you do that. We would go through the whole process, and then after that you would make an appointment. You would see a NACA housing counselor, and that would be your personal counselor to get you through the process. And
that's it?
Yeah.
And that's it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but it's full doc underwriting. I mean, so as you're saying, we don't look at so much credit score, because what is a credit score? So a credit score does not take into account circumstances that are out of your control. So you might be late, or someone might be late on a medical bill. Well, if you have to go to the hospital, you have to go to the hospital. You have to bring your children to the hospital. You have to do that. Well, you might not be able to afford, and often you cannot afford those medical bills. Well, that's not a negative reflection on your ability or where you are to be a homeowner. That's a reflection that we have a lousy, unaffordable healthcare system in our country. So that's why we never look at someone's credit score. We look at their individual circumstances. So if the credit report shows that one is late on their medical bills, we'll say, okay, please explain that. And if that's out of your control, we don't take that into account. And so we can look at people's individual circumstances and work with them and guarantee them that if you stick with us, you'll have an opportunity to be a homeowner.
Let's say, for instance, for example, this 4-bedroom, $2,564 payment standard. Out of that, 70%, $1,744 is going towards the mortgage itself. $820 is going to the principal to pay down the principal. But I can only afford $302,000 home. And if you've seen the market recently in Boston, there's not too many properties for under $350.
You can find some, but remember, we're also getting from the city, $12,000 for a single family, and for 3 family we're getting $20,000. Not NACA, but the borrower. So you'll be able to buy down your interest rate. So you'll be able to afford a house of $350 or more, because 1% of the mortgage buys down the interest rate by 0.25%, which is much more than any place else. It's a huge benefit. So now that for everybody buying in Boston, virtually everybody, you have to be less than 120% of the median. So the people that come to NACA, anybody that is buying in Boston will get between $12,000 and $20,000 to buy down the interest rate. So while today's rate is 3.5% for a 30-year fixed, they'll be able to buy it down to probably less than 3%.
That's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. So,
and they can purchase and renovate it. So the fact of the matter is, you might not be able to find that perfect house for $300,000 or $350,000 that doesn't need renovation, but you can find a house that you can renovate, and the money that you would need to renovate would go into an escrow account that you would access after you close to do the renovation.
And where would that renovation money coming from?
Well, that would be part of the mortgage. So, for example, let's say that you have a mortgage for $300,000. You can get you can buy the property for $250,000. And you can take the $50,000, get as part of the mortgage, put that into a separate account that can be used for the renovation. So, that $300,000 mortgage, $250,000 can be used for the purchase, paying off the seller, and $50,000 can be used to do the renovation.
Okay, let's say, for instance, it's $278,000. That little bit of money that's left over can still go to renovations?
Yes.
This sounds like it's too good to be true.
Well, everybody should ask that question. Because if you come to NACA and you say to somebody, you can get a mortgage with no down payment, no closing costs, no fees, at a below market fixed rate, you can buy down the interest rate to virtually 0% and purchase rehab, we don't look at your credit score. Everybody should say it's too good to be true. Because if you don't say that, then you're not doing your homework. Because there's no more corrupt industry than the real estate industry. There's no more bad actors than there are in any other industry than in the real estate industry. I mean, we've just institutionalized the mob in the real estate industry with all the bad actors that are out there.
Absolutely.
So the answer to the question...
I just, for the record, want to make sure that you guys know that I'm not one of those bad actors.
No, there's some good people out there, so you don't have to do that. But so the answer to the question is because of the advocacy and the operation. So when we were talking before of the two things that we do very well, it's that we do the advocacy, because you can do the best job, but if you don't get people's attention and you're not able to get the funding for it, then that's good in theory, but it won't be good in reality because you can't implement it. And if you don't implement it well, then you're not going to get the funding for it. So you have to scratch the surface, and and we encourage people to do that, because the more they scratch the surface on NACA, the better it shines.
What do you say to people that are like, listen, I tried to work with NACA. It took me 18 months to get a hold of someone. What do you say to the people that I really tried, but I feel like I'm alone and I'm not getting the help that I need because there's so many people that are looking for it. So it's a waiting game. I wanted to purchase in the next 3 to 6 months, and it's been 18 months.
Well, we're a victim of our own success. So that's why we are hiring every month 25 to 50 people every month. We have 47 offices. We just added 5 more. We are looking to have over 100 offices out there. So yes, we have workshops where we have over 1,000 people come to a workshop, and every office has at least 2 workshops every month. So we have 15, 20,000 people starting with NACA every month. So
that's a lot.
But we have $13 billion. We have $13 billion in the best mortgage in America. So, and we can get more. So we're not short of money. We're not short of, virtually all of our money comes from fees for services. So we don't go hat in hand to funders to say, please, please fund us, because it's fees for services. And we get some grants, but not a lot. And so it's there. So we're building. One of the criticisms used to be is that even people who had a bank application, it would take longer. So the whole idea, it would take too long to close. Okay, so you're not perfect. We're not perfect, but you always want to make a negative to a positive. So we've taken that negative and we said, okay, now we have the fastest closing process in the country, where from the time that someone has an executed purchase and sale, so they sign on the bottom line, this is the house that I want. In many cases, we'll be able to close that loan within 28 days. Not 28 days from the bank application, 28 days from when you sign that executed purchase and sale. Well, that's one of the fastest in the industry. Because one of the things that we did when we negotiated this deal with Bank of America and Citi, and used to be a Fleet and others, but they were bought out and by the others, is that we control this process. So, we're always looking to do it better. And, so you want to say, okay, that was a problem because for a variety of reasons. Well, we fixed that. And so, now you've got real estate agents and others that want to come to NACA, not just because it's the best product, but they want their money. Well, if they can get their money within 28 days of the executed purchase and sale, and virtually no one is ever rejected. In the mortgage industry, when someone applies for a mortgage, in the low and moderate income, less than 70% get approved. So over 35% are rejected. So they lose their application fee, of which there is none with NACA. They lose all that stuff. 99, virtually everybody that applies, that submits a mortgage, gets approved. So now you got almost 100% approvals, and you got the fastest closing, and everybody recognizes it's the best mortgage in America.
You guys just need help. That's all it is.
Well, we built our own systems. So we built our own software. We built our own processes. So what's really exciting, that's why we started out, I get the best job in America, because we can do it the NACA way.
Yeah.
We can do it the NACA way. So, we don't have to do it the way that the government says you have to do it, or the way that the lenders say you have to do it, because there's over 2,000 HUD certified counseling agencies in this country. Over 2,000. We're one of 2,000. We do over 20% of the counseling in this country. Over 20%.
Wow. And
we're going to be doing over 50%. So I kid the people at HUD and said, when we're over 50%, now you work for NACA. So, because, and they have said on the record, in writing, that we do the best job out there, one of the best jobs out there in terms of our systems, in terms of the whole process and the counseling of any organization out there.
I do want to go back to, because I've been helping a lot of people recently get on board, get their credit right, getting ready to purchase a home. But it seems like, it's easily discourageable. I don't have enough money. I don't have the right credit score. I don't, you know, and then you have the people who are looking at hot PHAs.
Yes.
And they're still, because society tells us you have to have $20,000, you have to have a 680 credit score. For those that are like, I work hard, I don't make that much, I make $30,000 a year, but I do want to be a homeowner, is that a viable dream for them?
Well, let's take a step back for a second. When someone says, and a lot of our liberal friends say, you know, you need a down payment. You know, you have to have, you have to have a piece. You have to have a stake in the transaction, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that patronizing attitude. Well, what built the white suburbs after World War II?
The GI Bill.
The GI Bill, and a VA mortgage is no down payment.
Mm-hmm.
So why was it good enough for the white suburbs, of which if one was minority African American, you could not access that money to do that because the government said you couldn't. The government, it was racist then, racist now, you know. So you know, some things don't change or they go in cycles. But so it was good for, you know, the white suburbs back after World War II. Why is it not good enough to build up the urban communities, and it's good enough for low and moderate income people and for minority home buyers to get a no down payment mortgage? Because remember, it's no down payment, but it's full doc underwriting. You know, the mortgage crisis didn't happen because of the no down payment mortgage. It happened because of these fake mortgages. You know, the no doc mortgages, the stated income, all that. This is full documentation. You need pay stubs. You need your W-2s. You need your tax returns. You need all that to show that you are, you know, you're in a position to be a homeowner and what you can afford. So I always say to somebody, so when you say, well, if someone's making $30,000 or they're not making a lot of money, get in the game. Get in the game. Just, you know, because maybe you won't be able to purchase this at this point. But the cities out there, and Boston is building more affordable housing. So at least you can get into those lotteries and stuff like that, of which a lot of people don't. So there's a real good opportunity there. And we can work on your financial management. So that, you know, you can really, so, you know, even if you don't buy a house now, you can, you know, really get more money available to do other things. And, you know, things change. And, you know, but you have to start. You have to start. And you got everything to gain and nothing to lose. And what's the downside?
What is the minimum income that I make X amount of dollars you should definitely consider coming into NACA?
We don't have minimum income, we don't have a maximum. Because what we have is we say that you have got targeted people and you've got targeted communities. So a targeted person is someone making less than 80% of the median. A targeted area is that census tract within that area if it's less than 80% of the median for that area. So you can have a high income, but if you purchase in a targeted area, there's no maximum acquisition cost. And then we have, you know, maximum acquisition cost. So I don't want to discourage anybody, because the fact of the matter is, you know, we could get out all this $13 billion if we got away from our mission and we dealt with higher income people and we dealt with you know, people who have no credit issues or no payment issues. First thing, they're the most difficult people to deal with because they're the most entitled people. So you don't really want to deal with them. Our staff doesn't want to deal with them. We do, but, you know, but we're not going to treat them any different than we treat anybody else. You know, it's not like you know, what's it called? The greasy wheel gets the
Yeah.
We don't play that way. So so the fact of the matter is that, you know, come on in. Let us work with you. I mean, you might get a Section 8 maybe, or you might get other assistance, or there might be a government program out there and they are building housing. Sometimes the banks have foreclosed homes that you can get. I mean, so there's all kinds of ways, but we want to focus on the people who are hardworking people, low and moderate income, who've been cut out from the conventional mortgage area business opportunities where we can really help them. That's our focus. And then it's part of the advocacy. You know, they're part of, you know, we're going after Wells Fargo. Then, we're gonna take on the issue of, student debt, unaffordable student debt. And
I am already on board with that.
wait,
I am
wait,
already on
wait
board.
till you see what we're gonna do with that. But, we coined the term back in the late '80s of predatory lending. Because when we got that housing trust fund, and through the hotel workers union, there's an individual, Miles Iyamo. Miles worked in Dorchester. He called me up and he says, "Bruce, do you know about hard lending?" I said, "I have no idea what you're talking about." And Miles spent over 2 years educating us, giving us the research on hard lending. And when the second mortgage we took on in Boston was called the second mortgage crisis. And that is where, these lenders were targeting minority homeowners, elderly minority homeowners, going after the equity in their home with a construction loan, which was fraudulent, stealing the equity out of their homes and stealing their homes. And that's when NACA coined the term predatory lending. And that's where it started. And so now we're going to go and we're going to do the same thing that we did on taking on predatory lending to taking on the predatory unaffordable student debt. Because right now, if someone has that, what are their options? What can someone do? They can go through, well, maybe this type of solution where you pay it off over a period of time and all that. I mean, it's just unaffordable. There's no real solutions out there. Well, it requires NACA's aggressive advocacy, and I think there's a lot of people out there that are going to participate in that, because it is the ball and chain that's holding people down. It's the shackles that are holding people down from the American opportunities that people before us had. But
and it's every generation. It's 40-year-olds that went back to school. It's 22-year-olds that are just now coming out of school, and even the parents.
It's the parents who are stuck with this debt. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, my parents weren't stuck with my debt. I am, but
but some of them, take that if they can afford it, and a lot of them can't, right? To do that. So no, that's the next campaign. We're doing well, but we always got to push it. And we're going to push it. Because it would be malpractice, or it would just be outrageous that NACA is in a position that we're in now, and we don't take on those fights. So it's incumbent upon us to take on the fights, and we're good at it. I mean, the reputation, which is well deserved, is that when we go after somebody, it's going to be hell. We're going to make their life miserable, and because everybody has something that they don't want you delving into all aspects of their lives.
Yeah.
But we know them better than they know themselves, and certainly better than their family members and their neighbors and everybody else knows them. And we think it's incumbent upon us to go after them. So one last story.
Yes.
One last story. So the head of First Union, his name is Eddie Crutchfield. Well, Eddie Crutchfield is a racist guy, just a racist guy, right-wing guy, just racist. So we were looking, after we beat, Fleet and Bank Boston and Barnett, and I said, well, who's our next target? We said, we did our research and said, it's going to be First Union. So First Union, they were buying First Fidelity. And so we buy stock in all the banks. So that allows us to get into their annual shareholders meetings, to get into their special meetings. So they were having a meeting to buy, where the stockholders had to approve buying First Fidelity. So we tried going in there, and they ended up blocking us out. So we coined the term Fast Eddie, because working people couldn't see him. So he's so fast to get to rich people. But then his head of corporate communications, her name was Barbara Massa, and she was just an awful person. So every time we used to see her, we'd just get on our knees and say, yes, my son. We just made fun of her, right, to do that. But we sued him. And so we sued him. And so in the depositions, she couldn't figure out. She had no responsibilities. She had none. So, she was head of corporate communications for one of the biggest financial institutions in the country. But, she had no personnel files. She had no emails, she had no nothing. So then we figured out, well, Eddie Crutchfield is going through a divorce. And so we have people staked out at his house, but it turns out that it was his wife's house. He wasn't living there.
Mm-hmm.
So, we got the divorce papers and we exposed that. And
Let me find out who's screwing the... Oh, Lord. Okay, I'm ready.
So then it turns out that we figured out that he's having an affair with Barbara Massa. So that, and then we do the Fast Eddie report. So what we do is we take, of all the properties that he owns, we take a 5-mile radius and we do a mailing to all of his neighbors, the Fast Eddie report. Well, his neighbors, they don't care about lending, they don't care about his, banking practices. But, rich people need gossip. If you go to those cocktail parties, you just, what are you going to talk about? You're not going to talk about the internal rate of return or what percentage of my borrowers got were a minority or whatever. You need gossip. So we feel it's incumbent upon us to meet the needs of these rich neighbors to do the Fast Ed report, which is all about his divorce, his gossip, his affair with Barbara Massa, to do that. And so we got more calls from his neighbors saying, I haven't gotten my Fast Eddie report to do that, because we did more than one issue of this thing, right? And he deserved everything that he got. And so, they kept on trying to settle, and we just said, no, this guy, he doesn't deserve the opportunity to settle. So eventually we got everything for the community, everything we needed and all that. So we ended up settling it, but years later, someone says, you actually destroyed that guy's life. You realize, he no longer had a First Union and all that. Point is, hey, look, it couldn't happen to a more deserving guy.
No, whose life did he destroy that he did not care about?
Oh, the way he treated people. It was awful. It was. You don't see as blatant the racism as we saw with this guy. You just never saw it. The way he treated people was just beyond the pale. Mm. And this is one of the biggest financial institutions in the country, and to do that. So
you are a bully to the bullies. I love it.
Oh, there's more stories out there. There's more stories. Hey, look, I have the best job. I have the best job in America. Where else can you do that? But we get accused of, and I get accused of. Well, you're always looking for the fight. Well, you have to do the work, you have to do your homework, you have to do the operations. But you have to have a mindset where if you're going to get something, it's not given to you. Mm-hmm. As you can see, Malcolm X, that's, by any means necessary.
And we are currently in the office of Bruce Marks of NACA, and he does have a Malcolm X poster right above his seat. Yeah. And we are where? Where are we?
This is the corporate headquarters of NACA. It's a corner of Center and Columbus Avenue, and but we've got big operations in Charlotte and San Antonio and Atlanta and we're around the country. So this is it's we got great staff. We got great staff who make it work.
Mm. And if I want to, for instance, I want to start my process here in NACA, and then all of a sudden I decide I want to move, can I take my process to Atlanta?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why we say to people, start the process, because, you can get what we call NACA Qualified. So NACA Qualified means that you are pre-approved. Well, you can be pre-approved in Boston. You can be pre-approved for Atlanta. You can be pre-approved in, Oakland or Chicago or,
Hold on, you guys are in Oakland and Chicago.
Yeah, we just opened up in Sacramento. We just, opened up in Richmond. We are in Miami. We're in Jacksonville. We're in Tampa. We're in Memphis, Birmingham, everywhere. New Orleans, Los Angeles.
I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you.
Oh,
thank you.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. It is a labor of love. That's all there is to it. So it's not work.
Any closing remarks to the listeners?
you know, anybody out there, get involved with us. Really get involved, because, if you want to buy a house, go, or save your house, or take on financial exploitation, or get a job with an organization such as NACA, because we're hiring organizers, we're hiring people around the country, because, we want to be in those fights for economic justice. And we do it aggressive way. I mean, this is a tough job. I mean, long hours. It's a labor of love, so you have to have that. But go to NACA.com, NACA.com. You can apply for a job. You can go to the next workshop to buy a house. You can go through our home save department to save your house. And we have legally binding agreements with all the lenders to do it. So it's not like they're doing it, well, we'll do this because on this case. No, they have to adhere to our legally binding contracts. And those contracts are our terms. It's not like, when I was in business school, there was, I did this course on how to do negotiations. And the theory back then at Harvard was called the book Getting to Yes. So, the idea was, well, you find common ground. Then I started working with the Hotel Workers Union, Local 26, and I learned from Dominic Bizzato, the president. He said, no, it's like, that's not the reality of life. One side wins, one side loses, and the winning side sets the terms of the victory. That's the reality of life. And and the way that you win those is by how strong you are in the streets, how strong you are in the communities, how much pressure you can put on your target, and that you are relentless. Because you have to be in there. You have to have a mindset that you're going to do whatever it takes for as long as it takes to win, and that's what we do.
Bruce Marks of NACA. How do I call you? What is the number?
Go to the website, NACA.com, and the member services. The member services department is.
That's fine.
You're gonna
the website is enough.
Yeah, but I'm embarrassed.
It's fine. It's fine.
Call
the
the member
website
services
is enough.
department.
Thank you so much. High five.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe, so we should be right at 50 minutes. Oh, 58, we're good. And that's stuff.
I have to get you the member services department. It's 425. Yeah, it's
I can always get it
425 602 6. It's 425 602 6222. So call the member services department 425 602 6222, or call the national office at 617 250 6222.
Do you know how blessed we are to have the headquarters of NACA nationally serving the country here in JP? I love it. I thank you.
Oh, I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Anytime.
It's great having a conversation with you.
Thank
you. If you want some more stories, we can tell you that.
I think we could do a whole 3-hour segment with just stories. But I'm definitely, and I have been sending people for PHA, hot PHA.
Hot PHA. Hot PHA. So you've been doing this for how long?
I have, so on my own.